What's going on, YouTube? How you guys doing tonight? It is my daily podcast time. About to get this thing started, man. I'm actually currently looking for a book in my library that I will probably doing a little bit on in my podcast later on this week or later on this month or something. It's called The Seven Laws of Power, and I was thinking about it because I go through a bunch of books every year and that I do rereads on. So I probably read about 150, read and listen to about 150 books a year, give or take, right? And so out of these books, some of the books, just every now and then, a good thought or good memory that I grab from the book comes up in my mind, and I want to talk about it. So that's what I'm going to be doing for a lot of these podcasts coming up as I think of new ideas and new things to talk about. But you guys know my premise, man. You guys know my premise. My premise is making less mistakes, guys. And you want to make less mistakes through going through biographies, right? And reading books about people who have made these mistakes so that you can avoid them. Guys, believe it or not, the Bible itself is a book of mistakes, like things not to do and how to live, so on and so forth. But it's 66 books of stories, guys, and those stories teach you how to live a good life, right? So the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, all of them are the same thing. What they're trying to do is trying to have you to live the best life possible, guys. So and I'm not a highly religious person, but I know that these books are good material to gain solid lessons from in life, guys. So whether you're highly religious or not, guys, these are some good books to begin to read from and learn from, and get a guideline to how you want to live your life. So we're going to be getting into today's podcast today, and today's podcast is very, very interesting because I'm taking it back a little bit, guys, and it is going to be about the choices we make, the decisions we make. Okay, so here we go. Let's get started. What's up, gang? How you guys doing? It is Lieutenant Sound Blue, 28-year law enforcement veteran and the author of the Top 25 Mistakes en Route to the Good Life. That's right, guys. It is about 200 pages of educational deliciousness in this book here, man. Have you guys get the most out of it. I got diagrams and all type of good things in here. Just some sketches that were done in the book just to give you an idea. So each chapter has a summary, and each summary has a picture after the summary that kind of encapsulates the entire chapter. So if I was able to give you everything that was in that chapter in the picture, you guys could literally get the look at the picture, gain an idea what the chapter is about. Look at the next picture and gain an idea. On the bottom of that is some summaries, so you guys can just go through them and read them and get the most out of my book, Top 25 Mistakes, so that you can start making less mistakes, man. But today's podcast, guys, believe it or not, I was going back through my archive and I wanted to go old school. Look how young this guy looks right here. Tony Robbins, man. Tony Robbins. This is one of the first books I've gotten eons ago. Eons. Listen, I'm talking probably in the 80s, right? I don't know. When was this book produced? It was a long time ago, man. And I'm thinking in the 80s, but it may have been earlier or later than that. But, wow, let me see. No, 1991. Okay. All right. So I've been mistaken, but it was early in my career, guys, that I remember first reading this book, Awaken the Giant Within, and it was because I had went to a conference with a friend, and all of these guys were into sales, right? Because I was just coming out of a career where I was just doing a little bit of real estate rentals and doing real estate sales, so I still knew a couple of people that read this kind of material, life-changing material here. And so this was before I really got deep into my law enforcement roots and just dedicated my life fully to law enforcement. But this was a good book to go back to, and I'm going back to it again. Pulled it out of the archive. I kept it in really good condition. So because of that, man, I'm reading it again. And so Tony Robbins has been like an inspiration to a lot of things that promoted change in my life. And I know he's been an inspiration to millions of people already, right? With his impact to feed the hungry, and how he has motivated so many people to have changed their lives. And I get it, man. This guy is phenomenal, and somebody who I want to emulate when it comes to the amount of reach and amount of people that he touches with his message. So, in honor of Tony Robbins, at this podcast is about making decisions, man. So one of the things that he talked about, which is essential and important, is making decisions, guys. So he says in his book, decisions are the pathway to power. So decisions are the pathway to power. So now, when it comes to making a decision, guys, everything begins and ends with a decision. And so, as you've got learned maybe from yesterday's podcast, I believe it was, how we don't have any control over what happens to us, but we do have control over the decisions that we make from what has happened to us. So life happens to everybody no matter what. And the difference between somebody living a good life and a bad life is what they do after that something happens to them. So I got some notes here that I took from the book and some that I just wrote up on my own. So as we go through this podcast, I want to talk to you guys some of my thoughts, and maybe it will help you guys not to make the mistake of indecision, right? Because when you make the mistake of indecision, you forfeit your right to choose how your life is going to turn out. And I don't want that to be anybody listening to my podcast, anybody reading my books, anybody who gets a hint of the messages that I have to give to you guys, right? I cannot have you guys not making a decision or making the mistake of indecision. So let's move forward with this, right? Now, if someone were to ask you today, and this is a question that I have for you guys, right? If someone were to ask you today, were to ask you 10 years ago, where would you be in 10 years, right? So what if somebody asked you that question? And the reason why I'm currently asking you this question is because I want to get those creative juices flowing in your brain to start thinking about your life and your future, and the things that you need to do in order to move your life forward. Now, it will probably be easy for me to ask you what are you going to be doing tomorrow, right? What are you going to be doing for breakfast? What are you going to be doing next week, right? But the sad part is, some people have no idea what they're doing tomorrow. Some people have no idea what they're doing next week. And some people don't even know what they're going to have for breakfast, right? Because these are people who are in the indecision department. They're not making decisions. They're letting life happen to them. They're letting things come to them, and they're not deciding what to do when things come their way. And if you don't decide what to do when things come your way, life is going to have its way with you. It is going to teach you some horrible lessons that happen to people who don't decide what they're going to do with their life. So let's go. Answer this question, guys. If someone were to ask you 10 years ago, where would you be in 10 years? Where would you be right now? So 10 years ago, I asked you that question. Where are you going to be in 10 years? As I'm asking you this question today, where are you going to be in 10 years? Right? Would you be happy with your decision? 10 years ago, answering that question today, would you have done what you said you were going to do in 10 years? How would you have tracked that? Right? How would you track, right? If I ask you a question, me 10 years ago, I'm going to be an author. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to have a business that coaches and teaching people. I am going to have, oh, wow, an incredible marriage, loving and passionate and understanding. I am going to have 5 children graduate from college with honors because of the motivation that I instilled inside of them to try and do and become more. Right? There's so many things that I thought about 10 years ago. Did I achieve all of those things? No. But I have a way of tracking where I was going to be and what people in my life, this standard of life that I wanted to raise them to, in my quest to have a better life all around, right? I wanted all the people around me to have a better life, not just me. So that was my journey, and I wrote it down, and I spoke about it and talked about it every single day in my journal. I wrote it on my mirror. I read it every day, and so I kept that goal in front of me, and that was a decision that I made, right? So I ask you guys the same thing. How are you tracking those decisions that you are making to have a better life? What are you doing, right? I'm always amazed how fast a decade, right, 10 years can pass without us moving on our goals. I did that before, right? It was a time in my life where I had my head down at work, and all I was doing was going to work, paying the bills, right? Coming home, going to sleep, eating dinner with my family, going back to work, so on and so on. It was the routine of work, and I wasn't really excelling. I was just doing at one time, right? And it didn't last 10 years, but it lasted long enough for me to look back and go, where did this last year go? What was I doing? I didn't achieve anything that I said I was going to achieve, in my New Year's resolution. I didn't do it. I didn't do any of it, guys. I didn't do any of it because I just let time pass without making a decision. And that decision is the catalyst for creating the life that you want, guys. So you'll be amazed how fast 10 years fly, let alone a year, right? Now, knowing that, we need to be asking ourselves, how am I going to live the next 10 years? What is that? That is the question that we need to be asking ourselves. How are you going to live the next 10 years? What have you written down? But I go even deeper than what Tony Robbins is saying with the last 10 years. I want to ask you guys a question. What are you doing tomorrow? What are you doing in a week? And what are you doing in the next 30 days, right? And the reason why I'm saying this on top of the 10 years is because it is the small decisions that we make in a day, in a week, and in 30 days that is going to have a significant impact on your life a year from now. Okay, and if you continually write down what you're going to do in a day, a week, and in 30 days, that will soon add up quickly to 10 years' time, and you can be right on track or very close to achieving the goal that you initially wanted to achieve in your life. So you need to constantly be asking yourself these questions. These questions will move you into action. Right? These questions will move you into action. The problem with a lot of people is when they ask themselves what they're going to do with 10 years, they don't pay attention to the fact that 10 years is going to come no matter what. And when that 10 years comes and has passed, they will still be trying to figure out what they're going to do the next 10 years. They just keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. I have a scroll, right? A scroll. I went to this class where they had me write down 1,000 goals that I wanted in the next, 1 year, 5 years, and 10 years. Right? So I got a scroll of all of these things that I have written down. And out of 1,000 things that I've have written down on that list, I have probably achieved 5 of them. out of 1,000 things that I've written down. And you want to know why? It's because when you write down 1,000 things, okay, most of them are insignificant to your life. And secondly, life changes so rapidly that a 10-year goal, right, may not be as important to you 10 years from now. So when you're asking yourself, where am I going to be in 10 years, right, you need to constantly be saying, okay, will this be significant in my life? Will this be important in my life, right? And don't base it just on emotion. Base it on some logic, guys, and base it on some research, and base it on the lives of people who have the thing that you want, and whether you want to be in that place 10 years from now. That is what you do, man. You really got to get deep into people and truly learn relationships to learn whether this is good for you or bad for you. The next thing you should be asking is, what am I going to commit to today to create the life that I committed to, right? To have the life that I'm committed to have for tomorrow. Hopefully I said that right, guys. It's in my notes, I wrote it down, and I'm a very sloppy writer. So just show you. Sloppy writer, but guess what? I write like a doctor, but I flow pretty well. So let's continue. What are you going to commit to today to make your life for tomorrow better? To make the life that you said you were going to have for yourself? You have to commit to something right now, today. And that is why I talk about your daily goals, your weekly goals, and your 30-day goals. What are you going to commit to make sure that your life turns out right? This is what you have to do. And this takes some homework. It takes some patience. It takes you sitting down, right, guys? It takes you sitting down and writing on a yellow pad what you want out of life and what are you willing to sacrifice. That's right, sacrifice. Are you willing to sacrifice time? Are you willing to sacrifice money? Are you willing to sacrifice relationships? Right? Are you willing to sacrifice your work, your job, whatever it is? What are you willing to sacrifice to have the life that you want tomorrow? You have to truly, truly think about this in order to create a life. In order to create a life, there's something that cannot remain the same. And that comes through decision making, guys. That comes through decision making. So, all right. So, in 10 years, right, will you arrive somewhere? Right? You will arrive somewhere. I'm sorry, guys. In 10 years, you will arrive somewhere. Where will it be? Right? No matter what, 10 years is going to come. Right? If you are still alive in 10 years, it is going to hit as sure as the sun comes up and the moon comes up. You know, as day meets night, 10 years is going to come, guys. Where are you going to be? Are you going to be where you said you were going to be? Or are you going to be misdirected because you failed to make the decisions that it takes to determine how your life is going to turn out? I mean, you know, that is basically where I'm at with this question, guys. And the other question I want to ask is who will you become? I've talked about this in many other podcasts, and it is about who you become in order to create the goal. A lot of people confuse, right, the goal or having a certain goal to getting something. Right? Getting $1 million, getting the job, getting the relationship that they want. When the fact of the matter is that if you speak to your future self in 10 years, your future self probably would not hire your current self to have that job that you want in 10 years. Your future relationship, right? That person wouldn't allow you near your wife or your children or your girlfriend or whatever in 10 years. He wouldn't allow you, right? You know, health-wise, your future self will probably look at you and go, I cannot believe that you came here thinking that you could not be active and still have the body that I have in 10 years. So it is about the decision of who you will become, not what you get, right? Also, how will you live? How will you live your life, right? What will you contribute to people? You know, will you be living your life as an example to people, or will you be living your life as a tale of don't be like this guy? Which one is it, right? As far as contribute, you know, in my life, all I would love to do is contribute and give value to as many people as possible. I love contributing. You know, I committed myself to being 100% to 0% in all of my relationships, meaning the law of reciprocity is going to take care of me as long as I give 100% of myself without looking for anything in return. It is a great way to live because you don't expect anything from anybody. You just give, right? And when you're just giving with your heart and giving out of abundance, you feel incredible as a human being, as a person, guys. You feel incredible. So understand that what you contribute truly makes or breaks the person that you become, right? Another thing I want to talk to you guys is this, right? In 10 years from now, it will be 2031. 2031. Can you imagine that, right? 2031, I'll be in my 60s. And my question that I have for you, as well as I have for myself, will you be pleased, right, in the year 2031, or will you be dissatisfied with how your life turned out 10 years from now? If you're 20s, you're going to be in your 30s, guys. You know, my twins will be 32, right, in 2031. Yeah, so, man, all of my children will be in their 30s. What am I talking about? So all my children will be in their 30s in 2031. So in knowing that, I always ask them, will you be pleased in 2031 or will you be dissatisfied with how your life turned out? Okay. Now I want to just tell you guys real quick as we get into this, and I'm not going to go too deep, but in 2016, guys, I was very, very frustrated with my life. And I always talk about it in my Top 25 Mistakes course and in my book, how I was there with my head in my hands, guys. I was frustrated not knowing what I was going to do with that driving question of what are you going to do with the second half of your life? Right? I did not know what I was going to do with the second half of my life because I had dedicated my entire first half being all in on my career and not looking beyond that. I did not plan for 10 years in the future. I did not plan for 2016 and 2006. I didn't plan for it, right? When I left, I didn't even leave at a given point, like 20 years, or I didn't leave at 25 years, what most people do, or 30 years. I left at 28 years. I just up and left, right? Just up and left with no plan whatsoever. Just the fact that I didn't want to do what I was currently doing any longer. So that was me, guys. That was me not wanting to do what I was currently doing any longer. I was done. I had nothing left to give. Okay, so I felt at that time, right? So that was a wrap, and I left out. And so I was frustrated. And I found myself becoming depressed because not knowing what you're going to do with the second half of your life is a long time. It is a long time not to know what you're going to do. And at my age, in my 50s, I figured I needed to have it figured out. I needed to know, and I needed to be smart enough to have planned this, but I didn't. You know, because 10 years came up on me fast. And 10 years moves like a thief in the night, right? It doesn't say anything. It's just one moment. It is 10 years later, and you have either made decisions to change your life, or you have made no decisions, and your life has remained the same, but you've lost 10 years of your life, 10 years of your health, 10 years of your relationships, right? 10 years worth of opportunities. You just let them go because you didn't make a decision to move forward. So that's where I was at, guys. You know, I was feeling very, very alone, right? And I have a family, but when you are the head of your household and everything falls on you when it comes to making sure that this household survives, but you fail to make a decision to what you were going to do to the second half of your life, you feel alone. So I felt alone in my decision making because I didn't make one, right? And so I also felt insignificant because I no longer had a title or a purpose that I was working towards. So I felt very, very insignificant in my life. And I don't know how many of you guys have felt that way in your life, but I want you to know that it is the most frustrating feeling in the world, feeling that way. And so it took me some time. Like I told you guys, it took me probably about 4 or 5 months, right, to start to read and research and everything else, and it all changed. It all changed for me in 180 degrees, right? 5 years later, as I look at this right now, 5 years later, everything changed from a year after I retired because I decided to make a decision, right? It happened through action. It didn't happen through me thinking about it. It didn't happen through me contemplating about it, being depressed about it, talking to people about it. None of that happened. Nothing happened for my life until I made a decision of action, right? And then, right, you know what I did the next day? Action again. And you want to know what I did? It's funny. You know what I did the next day after that? Action again. And then the next day, action again. And every single day, all right, for the next 30 days, I made sure that every single day I took an action toward what I wanted to be. Okay? I wrote out what I wanted to do. And even though I was so far away from creating the life that I want, possibly 10 years away from creating the life that I want, I realized that every day I needed to take an action. Every single day. Work toward that every single day. Work toward being an author, an entrepreneur, a millionaire, having an amazing relationship, right? And being a phenomenal father to my children. Every day I had to take an action to all of those things in order to, 10 years from now, be happy with the person I become. I needed to do that, right? Now, understand this, guys. Different actions get you different results. So, in order to have the life that you want, you kind of got to follow the right people, man. And in order to follow the right people, you have to really become a good evaluator of people and who you listen to. You have to be extremely discriminatory. You cannot listen to everybody because, number one, everybody doesn't have your best interest at heart. Number two, no one, and I mean absolutely no one, cares about how your life turns out more than you. And third, guys, when it comes to making a decision, right? If you listen to the wrong person, it can literally send you down the path to the bad life, guys, and you may not be able to recover from that. And I don't want that from any of you guys. So understand that different actions produce different results. This means you have to tap into the right circle of influence. You have to listen to the right people, guys. Okay? Everything in life begins with a decision, and it is those movements of decision that shaped your destiny. It was those movements that shaped my destiny, and it determined how my life was going to turn out, guys. So, listen. Hopefully, you guys have gotten. I just got back into this book, and I'm only into about page 33. So, maybe I'll be touching on a lot of things from this book, Awaken the Giant Within, and hopefully, I will awaken the giant within you guys. So, thank you, Tony Robbins. okay, for creating this book, and thank you guys for listening to the opportunity to change your life, man. Make sure you check me out, Lieutenant Sal Blue, and get my book, Top 25 Mistakes, over at lieutenantsalblue.com. Click on the link. Get Lieutenant Sal Blue. You can get it on Amazon as well, right? As well as my audiobook on Audible. You can get it free. Play it at twice the speed. Listen to it at night and change your life, guys. This is Lieutenant Sal Blue signing off. Make sure you follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, right? And Twitter, as well as my Facebook group, Top 25 Mistakes. And you will find out from second halfers how to make your life better, guys, through transparency. So this is Sal Blue, and I am wrapping it up for the day, man. I will talk to you guys later, man. See you tomorrow. Deuces. Yeah, man. That's it, man. Thank you guys for checking me out. And you guys on Spotify, have a great night, man. Remember, guys, you guys on Spotify, make sure you click and subscribe and hit the bell so you can get all of my Spotify episodes. And when a new episode comes out, guys, you'll get an alert from Spotify telling you that I just launched the next episode. So hop on in, show me some support, guys, and hopefully I can change your life for the better. This is Sal Blue signing off, man. I will talk to you guys later. Deuces.